empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water.
Hello everyone, this is Arasag coming at you with another tutorial. Today we're just going to be going over the obi-ani and then the inverted version of that same spin. So of course the obi-ani is just the basic spin that we all use. However, it is easy to learn, hard to master. So I'm going to give some tips that I've built up over the course of a couple of years now. And we're going to work together and see where we can go from there. Okay, so let's get this started. Excellent. So first part for this move is we're just going to learn the downwards X spin. Try to keep your hand below your waist and try to keep your arm relatively straight. This move happens, there's a lot of movement in the wrist, of course, but a lot of this move comes from the shoulder. So just focus on your downwards X spin. Try to keep it below your waist. This will help later. A lot of people try to do it a little bit too high, and of course you can do it higher. It's just not as smooth. So we're going to go over this slowly. So downwards X spin. Now, this part where we go into this, a lot of people get stuck up behind, underneath the arm. So what you do to make this a little bit easier on yourself is when you get to this part, you're supposed to turn. Now, what you'll end up seeing a lot of people doing is going to this part, turning, and then flicking. However, that I can barely even pull it off anymore. Doing that, it ends up also creating a habit of not going all the way and then dragging. Now you'll see this particular movement with a lot of new people, and there's nothing wrong with this. If you go back, you'll see that I used to do the exact same thing. But to go all the way, right, where you get all the way out, you want to go. You get to this point. You want to continue flicking up. So your hand is near your hip, blade is all the way point up, and then flick. That creates it, makes it look very effortless, and at the same time it also makes it more circular. Flow looks better when everything's in circles, of course, because then you know everything's supposed to be going like that. If it becomes all janky, it's not it doesn't flow as nicely as it could. So again, downward X spins, you try to keep it below your hip or at your hip, and then tucking, getting it straight up, and then flipping. Remember, a lot of this move is in the shoulders and the hips, so you could just pull it off without really doing much of the hips. But if you're having trouble with that, especially early on, learning to turn your body can help you learn that habit. So sort of facing the direction where you're starting it. And when you get to this point, turn and turn and turn. I see a lot of people where they'll go and they'll put their hand far behind their back, where it's almost all the way behind their back, and then turn. There's nothing wrong with that, but you want to be careful of bad habits. Trying to keep everything on one side of your body helps keep everything smoother and lessens the amount of energy you have to put into it. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll see people where they'll go like, and that's fine. You're building up energy, and sometimes putting it behind the back looks better aesthetically. So you want to tuck it in, you want to work the shoulder, so perfect. So that would be the base obi-ani. It takes time, it takes practice. Your hand will develop calluses, of course, over time, especially with my saber where it has all these ridges here. The inside of my thumb is like sandpaper, and all along this finger as well is quite rough. It'll just happen. So a lot of people are worried because it hurts a little bit. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. That's all I can say about that. So now we're going to go on to the inverted version of that, which would be, of course, if you're doing this, you want to do this. Now, because it's inverted, you have to think about all the aspects that go into the standard. When you're doing this part, what are you doing? You are pulling the blade. You're going and pulling. So not only are you doing downwards, so for this one you want to do upwards. Instead of pulling the blade, you want to push the blade. So this takes time and practice to get the momentum right. So again, you want to start by doing upward spins. Of course, trying to keep everything below the hip and keeping your arm as relatively straight as possible. A lot of this is in the shoulder. And then when you get to about this point, what you want to do is you want to turn the rotation point to about the middle zone, where about this black section ends on my saber. So you're going boom, 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 and then rotating, getting that arm, getting it right where you want to be, up. Just like when we're doing this, when we're going, when we're doing the obi-ani, and we're going up and then out. You want to get it to there and then flick. Of course, turning your shoulders and rotating your body can help with this. You want to get to this point and then move, because when you're doing this, the rotation point is very near the emitter. When you're doing this, the rotation point is very near the blade. Some people put the rotation point all the way down here, and what you'll see is this, where they're like, I really can't pull it off that well, but it's like they're going and trying to sheathe their blade, and it's like as if there's a sheath right here, and they're trying to go and like, and sometimes you'll even see where they'll go like this, they'll turn, and then they'll go. You can keep the movement going continuously without really having to do much. It just takes time. You also want to make sure, hand-wise, your hand is going to open up quite a bit doing this, just because if you especially want to keep it very round, you're going to want to let go just a little bit. Don't let go entirely. I usually put my pinky on the outside of the hilt just to push it a bit more. But that's just my experience with it. So of course, you got this, and then doing the opposite. It's the exact same thing, just played backwards. Of course, you want to learn how to do this with both hands, so left and right, so you don't develop any really real weaknesses. Of course, some people aren't ambidextrous or cross-handed at all. They're either left or right-handed, and that's of course something that you should take in consideration. Depending on what you are learning to do, you want to look into training different aspects. So if you want to do Jarkai, train both hands. If you're just okay with one saber, which is awesome, I tried doing Jarkai for a while and it just didn't work out for me. Of course, I still train with it just to make myself a little bit more varied, but standard single saber is just the way I go. It's tried and tested for a reason. So hopefully this has been helpful for some of y'all. If there's any questions or comments, feel free to let me know below, and hopefully this helps a lot of people. So may the force be with you guys. Just some final comments, some final points. I just want to get a little bit closer with the hilt. So when I'm doing the inverted one, when I get to this point and I'm going, this is sort of the grip I'm using. I know it doesn't look like much, but I'm essentially just holding on with my main fingers, letting it support there, resting my other fingers on the other side, and pushing down and around. Yeah, I should really be using a shorter blade for this. And around. And of course, the opposite is true for the standard obi-ani. So, yeah, that will be all. Yes, I shaved. Let's just save that for all the comments, eh? Bye-bye.